Hello and a very warm welcome from ET Studios, ETHRWorld and Coursera. I'm Devina Lasson and today we're here to deep dive into the future of learning and work, creating more equal opportunity in a more digital world. Now, as technology transforms the work landscape, we face both challenges as well as exciting possibilities in creating more equitable future. So do join us as we delve into the innovative strategies, emerging trends, and inspiring stories that highlight how we can build a more inclusive and accessible world for learners as well as workers alike. So here to discuss this and much more is my pleasure to welcome our esteemed guest today, Rajesh Rai, CHRO APAC GlobalLogic, Vivek Tripathi, VP and Head HR NewGen Software, Dr. Vincent Keny, Head L&D Boston Scientific, and Raghav Gupta, Managing Director, India and Asia Pacific, Coursera. Gentlemen, welcome. Thank you for being here today. It's a pleasure to have you on ET Studios.
Likewise. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So, we're here to talk about the future of learning in the workplace and really looking forward to getting all your insights from various perspectives because, of course, as experts, as C-suite executives here in the field, you have a vast amount of experience, right? Because you look at both your business as a whole and, of course, what each employee is bringing to the table, how you bring the evolution in. So, I'd love to understand just at the get-go, where each of your organizations, where your business stands, how do you see the evolution happening? And basis that, what kind of L&D development are you bringing in? How does upskilling, reskilling, how does it all work to really ensure that everything is in sync, that your business interests are matching the interests and the reskilling of your employees? So just to get some thoughts. Rajesh, shall we start with you?
Okay, I can. Thank you.
Thank you.
GlobalLogic is a digital transformation company and being a digital transformation company, we do this work for our clients, and our clients come from all kinds of spaces, from telecom, retail, automotive, industrial, high tech, energy, and you name it, and it's there.
Sure.
And post the pandemic, what has happened is that, and we've all witnessed that there's this huge surge in the digital skills
Absolutely.
Of employees, and digital skills of all kinds, right? So one challenge has been, which is a great challenge to have, a creative challenge to have, which I think we traversed fairly well, is to how do you move from just buying to build versus buy. And that's where we focused on saying, how can we build our skills internally the way our clients want, right? So, and then from time to time, I think every few months to maybe 5-6 months, technologies have kept evolving. Something new has come in.
Yes, of course.
And Gen AI is the latest. For now a little over a year, that it's just taken center stage in everything that we are also doing. So there was, every time a new technology comes, there's a lot of capability building. You have to figure out how will it benefit our clients, where do you really need the upskilling and all of that. So that's what our focus has been. Traditionally, we've always, as a company, being a tech player, focused on upskilling quite a bit. So we've had our fair share of ecosystem that we've built internally to do that. So earlier we used to have, which still continue, we have about 13 technical academies.
Yeah.
That's more like a semester based system where people
all
are
in-house.
All in-house and all encompassing digital skills. Of course, there is that fair share of tech certifications, technical training, but learning is never, what we found now is the trend is that learning is anytime, anywhere, and then you practice it and you become, how will you apply that learning on the job? So
yes.
In fact, this month and last month actually, we implemented a learning experience, a holistic learning experience, which really brings learning to our people from anywhere and everywhere. The outside ecosystem, the internal ecosystem, you can learn wherever you are. You can also learn what's happening in other geographies at the pace that you want to learn. You can build curated learning paths for yourself. So there's a lot that's happening in this space, but I think the message is that learning is about learning what's coming up in the future, but also learning the skills that you really need today,
yes.
and then implementing those in practical circumstances
Absolutely.
to help the organization and the clients.
Yes, absolutely.
That's what
Wonderful.
it's been like.
Thank you. And we're going to deep dive into so much of
Yeah,
what you've
yeah,
just
of
put out
course.
there. But for that, Vincent, let's get you in on this. How are you really ensuring that your skilling, upskilling is in tandem with the overall business needs of your organization?
Sure. First of all, I'm pleased to be a part of this conversation. Thank you so much for getting me here. Boston Scientific is in medical devices. It's saving lives with advancement of scientific evolution across. So let's understand the purpose of L&D first. I spearhead this vertical at Boston, but what's the real core when the learning comes to business is enhancing the skill repertoire.
Yes.
Now that has to be the focus. It doesn't matter what are the mediums you follow. Could be a blended approach,
Sure.
Could be completely a classroom version, could also be an AI, that's possible. But the focus is you enhance the skill repertoire. And primarily the focus that we built in is that no matter what tools of learning we bring in, they have to sharpen the business skill. Now the business skill could be tangible, it could be intangible. It could also be soft skill, it could be hard skills, technical skills, or it could be anything to do with medical devices. But we want that skill going back to the people who are interfacing the customer
Yes.
and improving the quality of life. So what I would say my prime objective when we put any learning intervention or scale up a learning journey or bring some outside vendors or curate something internally, our prime focus is to get the skills re-emphasized.
Yes.
And business skills. It's not that if I'm good at doing something, I'm going to advocate that as an L&D tool. But does really business needs that? That's the prime focus, I would say. What Boston Scientific believes, and we are able to get that done. And that's the reason for us, ROI is not capitulating training man days or man hours or seeing how much money we invested.
Sure.
For us, the ROI is the end customer and the hospital benefited through our services.
Wonderful.
So we save lives, and L&D plays an important role to save those lives. That's all I can say. Thank you.
So is it that the L&D programs are co-curated with maybe the business heads from the organization? Is it left a lot to the L&D and HR team? How do you create that perfect synergy then?
That's a nice question. Thank you so much for asking that. It's a blended version.
Sure.
We pick up the feed from the field, wherein our people are lacking in terms of the skill perspective. We pick up the feed from an internal customer. And we also pick up feed from some psychometric tools. Because it cannot be a stagnated process across. The tools that I used 6 months back cannot be used for another 6 months. So for us, L&D is evolving.
Yeah.
It cannot be one fit for all. We've done it. And we do a continuous dip checks, with us and the external and the internal customers, that we need to sharpen the L&D tools. And finally, when people graduate from any L&D intervention, we don't spy on the performance. It comes back to us, from different sources.
Sure. Yeah.
So I would say it's a blended version.
Can I add on one quick point? And Vincent very nicely spoke about how for the business it's critical to be building skills. I want to just share an anecdotal data point from the employee side as well. And there are about 2.5 crore people who come to Coursera in India to learn, and we segment these people based on what they're looking to achieve.
Sure.
So we put them in 4 segments broadly, and we say there are career starters, career advancers, career switchers, and enthusiasts. Those are the 4 types of people. And obviously the name signifies what you're trying to achieve, right? You're starting your career, you're advancing your career, and so on and so forth. So, and 2.5 crore people, so it's a large data set, right? Career starter, advancer, switcher are 30% each.
Okay.
Enthusiasts are 10%.
Okay.
And so very simple message, the reason all of us as working professionals are willing or interested in learning is we want to start a career, advance a career, switch a career.
Sure.
But as long as for me as an employee, the learning is helping me advance my career,
Yes.
it is helping me achieve my personal objectives as well.
Yes.
So business wants skills to advance the business, the employee wants skills to advance their career.
Yes.
And if we can bring programs together that help put this together, then we achieve kind of those objectives.
So that's really at the core of the motivation you're saying for the organization and each individual employee.
Also because it links very well to careers of people, right? Eventually, it's like a cycle that the business is giving us all that's happening with clients, and there is so much of feedback that we are getting, which you can incorporate into how do you want to design and what kind of programs, what kind of skills you want to look at. And when employees learn, there's so many positives to it, that when you upskill yourself and you deliver performance, to what Dr. Vincent said, on the ground, right? Your client is happy, your NPS scores go up, and in turn you get the goodies of great performance, you get the recognition. So it's like a very nice circle if done properly, where everybody wins if you're focusing just on the right things.
Yes, very gratifying process. Vivek, let's get you in on this.
Yeah, so I come from NewGen Software, and we have a digital automation platform which helps enterprises automate their business processes. And what we have seen is that there has been a change in the skilling requirements of our employees. So one part of the skills which they need are proprietary, which is, they need to understand the NewGen platform, the product. And of course, since they're all software engineers, they also need technical skills, the ability to design and code. But increasingly, it is also important for them to understand domain, industry, right? Because whatever you do, it has to be in sync with the processes in specific industries. So one of the things, or one of the changes that has happened in our entire skilling paradigm is to focus also on the domain skills and on skills which help you make an impact with the customer. So increasingly, engineers, when they are coming out, they have a modicum of technical skills. They understand about the NewGen proprietary technology through a variety of interventions, which could take the form of classroom interventions as well as, online courses. But they also need to understand about the domain. They also need to understand about how do they make an impact at the customer, which means social skills, ability to really, communicate with the customer, ability to set expectations. So we are increasingly using a blended approach which has several journeys, and these journeys are what was said. It is based on the cohort. So entry level engineers are one cohort, and they have certain journeys which help them become adept at what they do. But more advanced, folks who have more experience, they need different kinds of skills, and they need to undergo a different journey, which is more to do with their ability to make an impact at the customer's end and also get deeper into the domain. So based on different cohorts and based on the skill requirements, we have created different journeys for different cohorts. And of course, you also have to keep an eye on what is going on externally, because what was a solution 5 years back, or what was the expectation of the customer 5 years back, is not the expectation anymore.
Absolutely.
For example, we have added an AI suite to our digital automation platform, because customers don't just want automation, but they also want insights from the data which is flowing through the different processes. So the AI suite is an addition to the digital automation platform that we had, which means that now we also need people with skills in machine learning and artificial intelligence. So I think anyone who is looking at the skilling and the learning paradigm in a company needs to keep an eye at the external world, needs to keep an eye on the business, and of course also needs to clearly segregate the different cohorts and the skill requirements that they have.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you all actually for really laying out your strategies within the organizations you represent. It's really interesting. As you've alluded to with your AI tool integration in-house, I'm sure similarly all organizations are really tapping into emerging technologies, and AI, Gen AI are at the helm of it. How do you see these emerging technologies impacting your L&D initiatives? Do you really see it sort of taking over traditional methods of L&D? Is there a cohesion of the two? How are you approaching the impact of emerging technologies?
I can go. So what I've seen is that one, definitely Gen AI is here to stay, and it was a coincidence. I got a Microsoft and LinkedIn report I was reading on work trends on 2024, and it said that 75% of knowledge workers that they surveyed about 31,000 employees in about 31 countries, and they said that 75% of them are already using AI in some form or the other. Okay. And 46% of these came on board in the last 6 months, yes. which means it's here to stay. Yes. And the report was titled really nice, which is the AI work is here, now comes the hardest part, which is about getting everybody skilled. Mm-hmm. So we started this journey on Gen AI about 2.5 years back, much before really the wave came in. But all our 32,000 employees worldwide got trained in this world of Gen AI, saying, okay, this is what it is, this is how you can use it or explore it in your function, in your work. And then now we've been building SMEs across the world, which are like deep dive SMEs, so that they can help our clients on transformations. Now, what I'm seeing is Gen AI or AI in general sweep into a lot of things that we are doing. For example, the LXP that we launched, the learning experience portal we launched, uses AI to give you the learning paths that you can curate. We just launched a career navigator portal, which will now explore how can you build career paths within the firm, and this capability will give you those prompts saying, you know, you are at level X and you want to reach at level Y. These are the 3 ways in which you can reach there, which if done manually is a tedious task, right? So I think a lot of creativity coming into not only the L&D space, because they are the ones who are helping businesses and businesses helping them to curate all of this, but also functionally too, like shared services, classic example where we are exploring our Gen AI capability of saying how can it help us streamline responses that we give to employees in a faster turnaround time, and likewise. So it's actually coming into everything that we are doing. All aspects. And obviously L&D and business together, these are 2 teams that are right at the helm of it.
Yeah, wonderful, very exciting. Gentlemen, would you like to add to that?
Sure. See, there's a big boom on AI, to be honest with you. It's like a self-hypnosis that's happening.
Okay.
So keep this in mind. L&D's real core is what? I would drive a spiritual element here. Yes. You need to be having as a virtue. L&D is a virtue. It's a value in your company. If that's not happening, nothing is going to work. Forget about AI or any other dimension. Yeah. Now, AI is in need of the hour. It's need of the business. We all understand. It's not replacing anything. Yes. There is a huge, I would say, again, hypnosis of social conditioning among the trainers and coaches and L&D fraternity. They're going to lose their jobs, or they're going to have, their skills going up. Yes. It just can't happen. What we really need to understand, we need AI where it's required. Yes. Yeah. We don't need it where it's not required. Not only L&D, and L&D is a business tool. It's not a support function anymore. We all understand this. It's an expert function. Sure. And second is the most important thing that I need to understand when we get AI tools into the L&D fraternity, and it's for its usage in all dimensions of business, is that the interface between the humans and the AI. That's where it really comes and plays a vital role. Yes. We don't need emotional intelligence anymore. We need emotional maturity. So we need emotionally mature people. We don't need emotionally intelligent people. So there is no point hyping and jumping on AI, because to be honest, most of the people don't even know what to do with AI in L&D.
Absolutely.
Just building on that maybe, and you spoke about, is there more hype to this than the reality? Yeah. At the G20, which happened in Delhi last year, many of the CEOs referenced this McKinsey study, which talks about how globally there's a $4 trillion productivity opportunity with Gen AI. But I think what was very important is this McKinsey study said, look, there are many job roles in companies. There are 6 where the impact will be the largest. And to your point that it's relevant in some places, and maybe it's not relevant in every place. And these 6 job roles are customer operations, where it will be automated as opposed to augmented, right? So some jobs will really get automated. Sure, yes. But then the others are more augmentation, software engineering, product development, sales, marketing. Right. 5, 6 job roles, right? And so to be able to identify, right, which are those job roles where it really matters, and to say, this is where the augmentation opportunity exists, and this is where the automation opportunity exists. And Vivek, to your point earlier about a lot of the work that you guys do at your company, understanding that and then saying, okay, how do I build the relevant skills in these job functions? Now, I may be pushing somebody in finance to learn Gen AI, but if there's not going to be any application, then maybe not.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I think the world is warming up to it, to be honest, what Raghav said. Like today morning, Gartner, I remember reading something from Gartner, somebody sent it to me, which said that 30% of the ideation that's happening in the AI, Gen AI space, after the proof of concept may get discarded by 2025,
Sure.
right? So the world is figuring this out.
Yes.
And figuring this out in a very mature manner of where and what can be used out of the functionality that's just come in.
Yes.
So it's happening very much. Sorry.
Yeah, so I think like the possibility of AI or the impact of AI, probably we will underestimate it in the short run, but in the long run it may be more important than what we may think. So I think it is better to have a slightly more exploratory approach, that you will probably know more about how to use it if you know more about it. And therefore at NewGen what we have said is that AI firstly we will use in some very obvious ways, mainly in L&D to enhance access.
Okay.
So
Yes.
for example, our learning management system, it makes it very easy to choose. It makes it very easy for a learner to choose what is the right kind of program that they can access for a particular skill.
Yeah.
So AI does that very well. I mean, you just have to give a voice prompt and you would get a list of courses that you can do. But AI from a skilling perspective is slightly different. Rather than look at an immediate gain out of it, we encourage our employees to understand more about it. So that they can come out with specific uses in the work that they do.
Yeah.
Even we don't know how it will be used, but we know that it may be used, right? And therefore, we encourage them to learn online, we encourage them to explore, and we also have been able to clearly identify some used cases in the work that we do, where knowledge of AI and will be very helpful. So all our products have an AI element now. In some it is a little more, in some it is a little less, in some it will probably expand much more in the future.
Wow.
Yeah. And also I think, the good part, and rather a great part of AI or Gen AI or any of these new technologies is that it's opened this world of creativity for the employees,
Yes.
right? Today, when you're talking about even subjects like sustainability, it's about exploring, let's say, we have an application which explores that the code that you've written, can that be optimized in a way that the machine that eventually processes it will consume less energy. So what I'm saying is it's just opened this new world where, to Vivek's point, if you can explore and if you can let your employees explore, it has multiple benefits. They are learning in return, they're upskilling themselves. There is a lot of ideation happening on the ground. And the benefit is for the company as well as for our clients, right? So it's a lot of benefit because it's opened this world of creativity for all of us.
That didn't exist before. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you. Raghav, hearing all these points, as Vivek mentioned, access and accessibility is a big aspect of how L&D programs are being developed and how, say, AI is going to help these programs be widespread. How are you seeing this? Because you, of course, have this vantage point of working with organizations across industries, across scale. How do you see sort of the democratization of the learning process happening and being aided by emerging technologies like AI or Gen AI?
Yeah, 2-3 things come to mind. Many years ago, companies were almost 100% of content was being produced in-house. And then over the last 5-10 years, companies like us came along and said, look, some content you should continue producing in-house, product, training, and so on. While a lot of other content, we can do possibly a good job of it, so we'll bring it to you. Now, in all of this, what's happened is that for the learner who's focused on career, like I was saying earlier, what's missing is context, right? In my company, what is the context for me to be learning Gen AI because I'm going to be using it in my product development or I'm going to be using it in my tech services organization. So one of the things we've done is we've developed a Gen AI enabled tool that we are calling Course Builder.
Okay.
And we are saying essentially Course Builder can help democratize personalized learning, with the intent being you know your learner. So you say this is the learner, this is what we want them to learn, this is how much time we want it to take. And I have some in-house content, but I don't have a lot of external content. So Coursera can bring in some external content. You might plug in some podcast, you might plug in a TED talk, etc., etc. So you give the instruction to the tool in normal human language, and it will populate, create a new course for you, which is exactly what you want it to be.
Nice.
Right? And we've trained this model over the last 6-9 months, and it's Course Builder, and it's working fairly well, which brings this internal, external, third-party content all together and makes it relevant.
Okay.
This came to market about 2-3 months ago, and we're seeing a lot of value companies deriving from this. The other thing is kind of similar to what Rajesh said. Many companies have said, look, we want a large level of familiarization with this new technology, especially Gen AI. So we created a Gen AI Academy.
Okay.
There's a pillar in that which is Gen AI for everyone. And there's a pillar in that which is very, very important, which is Gen AI for leadership, right? Many CXOs are talking about it, but not everybody necessarily understands what this can and cannot do.
Sure, yeah.
So that pillar. And then Gen AI for teams, which is if you are one of those 6 teams where you are a software engineer, you are a marketing person, you are a salesperson, you are in customer ops, how do you build specifically the tools to be able to leverage some of this technology?
Yeah.
And pretty surprising data point. Last year, every 4 minutes, one person was coming and enrolling in one of these Gen AI courses. This year, every minute, 4 people are enrolling in Gen AI courses.
Good.
Wow. So whether hype or reality, and that's
telling, yes.
but it's telling in terms of what actually is
Yes,
happening.
absolutely. What about transcending sort of language barriers? Because
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
of course, on a global scale, but even within India, we
Yeah.
have to cater to now workforces that are spread everywhere. A lot of hybrid models are still very much in existence. So again, in terms of democratizing, how can
Yeah.
organizations really ensure that?
The reality is a lot of high quality content comes in English, right? Whether it's coming
Exactly.
from top universities or SMEs or whatever it might be. So we've again been leveraging this technology to say, look, let's translate content into multiple languages. It used to take a lot of time. It was expensive earlier. It's very quick now. It doesn't cost as much. So whether it's content from English into many Indian languages, or it's content in multiple, foreign languages. Many of your companies are in multiple countries, right? So if we can bring something from a top institution but make it available in Hindi and English and French and Spanish and so on, then that helps quite a bit as well. So we've done that for 24 languages for a lot of our content.
Yeah.
We've been piloting that for sure
As well,
for
yeah.
many of our applications. In Japanese especially, we are
yes.
we are a Hitachi group company,
yes.
but other languages too, many other languages, and AI really helps in this. So I'm
Absolutely.
glad that this is happening.
Yeah,
Really nice.
yeah,
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. Vivek?
Yeah, we hired people in. So in India, I think engineers primarily are able to, comprehend content in English, but we also have expanded in the Middle East, and there we found that there was a real need to localize content, especially our product-related content, and we used local experts to do that. But if there is a better way of doing it or a faster way of doing it, we would certainly be very interested in that.
Wonderful. Hearing all these comments, it really strikes the point that it surely takes a great amount of leadership within the organization to shape your L&D initiatives.
Yeah.
From business to, of course, the L&D teams, HR, and so on. So how do you as the leaders really make sure that there's sort of this cohesion amongst all the stakeholders, and how you, measuring or ensuring that impact really comes through ultimately at the end of the day? Rajesh?
I think for us it is because we work with clients. I think the impact is live and right there.
Yeah.
So and culturally, I think the good part is as a culture. And we say we hire people who are smart, bold, and human, right? These are people who would be avid learners, willing to take risks, very deep into curiosity and creativity and all of that. But I think the best part is that nobody's working in a silo. So the
Yes.
business and
Exactly.
L&D teams, HR teams, or any other functional teams are pretty much rallying together towards that one goal, which is that you want to do the best for the client that you're working for. And in that process, also give back to the communities, do best for what you can as a company for the communities. And that's really what our purpose is as a company.
Yeah.
So I think this alignment is not a one-off; it's just a way of life,
Yeah.
and that has helped us always. So live feedback immediately as soon as a client may say that this is something that I'm looking for, and can you build this for me? And we will just immediately take it up, and just like a agile setup, a agile company that we are, we would go about developing it real time, and it's just a way of life, and I think that's helped us. It helps in preempting proactively what the future holds, and future may not be too far. It could just be 6 months
Absolutely,
ahead
yes,
or
yes,
3 months ahead also. But your ability, therefore, based on this alignment, to respond to those asks real time, because that feedback is coming in through NPS scores, through real feedback, through conversations, both from clients and employees, I think that helps.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Vivek?
So we have, just to ensure that business and learning and development are in sync, we have a learning council which has key leaders from the business and of course learning and development. And their role is primarily to just prioritize on the key skills and the key learning needs that we as a company need to focus upon. And then we have created learning journeys for different cohorts, and in every such journey there are different kinds of measurements you do just to see the impact. For example, if you are looking at folks that you've hired from campus, one very important metric is when are they ready to be deployed, right?
Absolutely.
And if, of course, there is a certain time expectation you have, but the question is how many of your campus folks are ready by that time,
Sure, yeah.
as evaluated by their project managers and finally as evaluated by the customers.
Sure, yeah.
So we have that. And for other cohorts like managers, if you are a project manager, the level of your skill is determined by how well you execute on your projects, what kind of NPS scores you get from the customers that you are serving, and what kind of scores you get from your peers who work with you. So we have tried to see that the investments we are making, the time that we are spending is being spent on the right things.
Yes.
But let me also say that a part of learning will always be, I would say, internal. Some things you learn just because they will be useful to you.
Absolutely.
Sometime in the future. You may not see an immediate impact, but yes, some things you can
Absolutely.
surely measure.
Yes, absolutely. Wonderful. Thank you. Doctor?
So when you talk about measurement, it's a very fantastic term for L&D people because they want to prove themselves to business, which shouldn't ever happen.
Right.
You don't have to prove anything to anybody. You don't need to measure everything.
Yes.
But having been said that, everything is measurable.
Yes.
So you have to define what you want to measure even before the learning journey is crafted.
Yes.
Absolutely.
If I want to measure operational excellence, it has to be defined what exactly in operational
Yes.
excellence. The business excellence, to define the parameters in the business excellence. Because it just can't happen. You've done the learning journey and now you're talking about the ROI or measurement.
Sure.
The measurement piece has to be done even before you execute or strategize your
Yes.
learning piece.
Yes.
But it doesn't have to happen that you need to measure everything. One point I would really like to strongly advocate in this conversation, we've got a lot of tools coming in for execution, for strategizing and even for implementation of learning. But I see self-learning is dipping down. When I was a kid, I was a school-going boy, I took 2 buses to go to University of Delhi and read 1 book.
Yeah.
And in spite of having all this, plethora of knowledge, Coursera and everything coming, the reading habits have gone 40% down.
Yes. Yes. So true.
And people want now capsule learning coming up, just clips comes up, you see the audio, video, and you see if you internalize learning, that's not happening.
That's not it.
So I would say everything is possible, everything is measurable, but the intent cannot be created. If you're not a self-learner,
Yes.
you're spoiling companies' money and resources.
Yes.
Well, the baseline is whatever you learned, have you been able to apply it as per
course.
what he said in terms of expectation, right? You learned a X skill. Now, have you been able to really apply that skill in that context of your work or the client or the function? And really been able to produce the results, which would mean therefore that the expectation of
Yeah.
those results has to be right there, saying I'm
be
learning
very
this
clear,
so that I
yes.
can do this.
Sure.
But this has been a very big shift. Earlier, I don't think we used to talk so much about it, but I think now it's just become the core of everything.
Yeah. It's more structured and clear and
Yeah.
planned out. Yeah.
You can't inject learning. There's no injection for learning, no matter how technology becomes stronger.
Right.
We might wish that though.
Coursera gets it, I don't know, but it's not yet possible. I mean, we have injections for different diseases, not for learning, but
Just building on what you shared, and I'm not sure if I'm agreeing or disagreeing, but let me say it in any case. So, and I think all of us have said this, right? If you can measure it, you can improve it, right? And I would just add one more. Measure, communicate, and improve, I think is possibly what I see a lot of great learning programs do. Within measure, I think it falls in 3 buckets broadly. The simplest level of measurement, category 1, is just the basics, right? How many courses taken, learning hours, completion rates, etc. That's the basic stuff. Level 2 is possibly being able to measure skill development, right? I was negotiation skill level 1 and I'm a salesperson, so I should be good at negotiation skill. So I'm now at negotiation skill level 3 after 2 months of training.
Sure.
Or I'm a machine learning engineer and I was intermediate and now I'm advanced. So just being able to measure skill development. But I think the tricky bit, but also the most exciting bit, is level 3, which is what was the business impact.
Yes.
Right. And I learned Gen AI. I was able to inject Gen AI into my product, and that helped the company sign $10 million of business.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or I enabled internal mobility because of skill development, and it saved my company $10 million
Yes,
because
yes,
we,
yes.
enabled internal mobility as opposed to hiring people externally, etc. I think if companies are able to do that, it becomes tangible. It's never accurate, but if it's still broadly directional, I think it becomes really something that enables a seat at the boardroom table, at the business
Yes,
table.
absolutely. Have a North Star, at least in this direction. Wonderful. Gentlemen, thank you so much. There's been so much great insight here. Hard to really summarize our conversation, but I will request each of you to sort of leave us with one key takeaway for all our viewers out there. We have a lot of people sitting here to learn from us. What is the future of L&D? What is the future of learning in the workplace? So just sort of one key takeaway that you would leave the professionals watching our content with. Rajesh?
I think continue to learn, what Dr. Vincent said, that continue to learn, invest in yourself. It's not a one-off event. It has to be absolutely continuous. And measure your own impact of your performance. After learning, have you been able to apply and measure for yourself first of what you learned, right? Have you been able to move the needle for your work, for the organization, for the client? I think that is going to be really, really important. It's like future proofing yourself. So this is a non-negotiable, really.
Yes. Wonderful. Thank you. Vivek?
I think increasingly it will have to be a mix of learning for the present and learning to prepare for the future. And also a balance between what is required by the organization and what is required by the learner. And in all of this, the joy of learning should be preserved.
Yes.
Because I think that's what really makes us curious and in many ways, help us to constantly improve
Yes.
as employees.
okay, generally speaking, learning is a continual process. It's not limited to books, periodicals, university lectures. That's generally speaking. And when learning comes to business, it's the most integral part and the skill of the business. It drives revenue. It's not a support system, and it's not a part of the HR transactional work. So it's the most important skill that drives ROI. And you can't be without it. It's not a choice to train your people. If you really want to survive in business, you have to learning and development has to be there. You just cannot say we don't have budgets. You need a toothbrush, okay? And you don't brush all the day, or you don't brush 5 days in a week. You just one brush in the morning, 2 minutes, and one in the night, 2 minutes. It's the continuity that matters. You just cannot say, I won't brush for 4 days, and the 5th day I'm going to brush 16 hours.
Absolutely.
It's going to be detrimental.
Absolutely.
Same thing happens to L&D in business. It has to be continual. There where the catch is.
It's really impactful. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And on my side, like we've said, I think partly already, I think L&D needs to have a dual fit for purpose. One is from a business context, how do you create the skills that business needs? The other is from a learner perspective, how do you bring what learners will value, curiosity, the joy of learning, etc., etc.
Yes.
And from a medical context, creating the injection for learning, I think is a challenge for Coursera too.
Might be the next
I think that's why
offering
we
by
need to
Coursera.
collaborate together
Course
to
builder is that
Medical devices will one day. Yeah.
medical devices and Coursera. I think Boston Scientific
Nice,
and
nice. He's
Coursera.
pushing business. Yeah.
Always opportunities in
Yeah.
the pipeline. Well, gentlemen, thank you. Thank you, Raghav. Thank you, gentlemen, so
Yeah.
much. It's
Thanks
been an
for the
absolute
opportunity.
pleasure for sharing all your insights, your experience, and really just some key takeaways for our viewers out there today. Thank you. It's been a pleasure having you in
Thank
ET
you.
Thank you.
Studios.
Our pleasure.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, on that note, that's all we have for you on this power-packed episode. We've explored the transformative power of technology and its potential to create more equal opportunities in education and employment. Do stay tuned to ET Studios and ETHRWorld as we continue to uncover solutions and stories that pave the way for a more inclusive and accessible future. Until next time, many thanks for watching.